So you're moving up from the corn cob, the $5, $6, $7 corn cob pipe you bought when you first started smoking a pipe, and you're looking at your Briar pipe. Now, in my last video, we talked about shape. Tonight, we're going to talk about price. How much should I be paying for a Briar pipe? Is there really a difference between this $35 pipe I found on Smoking Pipes or the $125 pipe that's on Pipes and Cigars or Cup of Joe's? What's the difference and how much should I pay? Let's talk about it. So tonight, let's talk about price, and let's talk about what you get for paying a little bit more. I'm going to break pipe smoking into two categories, okay? You're under $80 and you're over $80, okay? And it's not really a hard and fast rule. Again, this is my opinion, and your mileage may vary on this, but this is what I've observed in the pipes that I've purchased, and I'd be more than interested if you're an old timer watching this and you want to give your 2 cents. Please leave a comment below. But your main difference between your under $80 pipe and your over $80 pipe are going to be in three main areas, and it's what I'll cover here. First is the age of the Briar itself. Second is fit and finish. And then third is going to be some of your kind of more detail work, engineering of the pipe itself. Okay, so the first one is when I talk about age of the Briar. Quite bluntly, some of what you have when you buy a cheaper pipe is a great pipe, but simply has not been aged in the pipe warehouse, and the Briar's rather new. And so what's the issue with that? If you're a new pipe smoker, you may be asking, well, what's the difference? And since you haven't had a Briar pipe yet, you probably have not had the experience of breaking in a pipe. Corn cobs really don't need that much of a break-in period, but a Briar pipe does. And it can take 10 or more bowls smoked in it before the pipe is properly broken in. Sometimes that can be shorter if the Briar is older. Sometimes it can be longer if it's younger. So if you have a factory that is using young Briar that's only been, say, boiled and aged maybe a year or so before they begin to make pipes out of it, you still might have some tannins and other properties within the wood itself that are not going to make for a pleasant smoking experience. They're going to take you a longer time to break in a pipe. So some of what you're paying for when you buy a well-aged Briar that's above that $80 range, and anything that's over $80 really should be well-aged Briar, is time. And that is what you're paying for, is that it sat in someone else's warehouse for longer before it made its way to you, so that you would have a more pleasant experience sooner with the pipe. So that's the difference on Briar age. The second thing that really corresponds is what we call fit and finish. And what I mean by that, quite literally, is the fit on things. So there is, okay, let's see if I can make this appear, okay, on pipes, okay, there we go, we're focused. Here is the tenon, okay, and it goes inside here in this pipe into this. This is your mortise, okay, and they need to fit rather snugly. It doesn't need to be impossible for it to turn, but you want to have a nice snug fit so that it's not loose. And quite frankly, on things that are under $80 and really more in that $40 to $60 range, quite often the pipes that I've purchased in that category are they're a little bit loose on the finish, or on the fit, between your mortise and your tenon. Then when we talk about finish, okay, on a pipe, I mean that you have higher end finishes And I quite literally mean that. Like this. This is a smooth pipe by Savinelli. This is a pipe that has some lovely grain here, and they've done a wonderful job with the contrast stain to really bring out all of that grain. And they've done some unique work on the stem work, right? So like the stem here, if it will focus, is a nice like bright blue. It's got a faux spigot finish. They put a lot of work into making the pipe just beautiful all around, from very much the finish itself on the wood to kind of all the little accent work there. That your higher end pipes have more of that. Certainly you'll see more smooth pipes, $80 and above, and certainly more smooth pipes that are not going to have any obvious imperfections in that range that's higher. On the smooth pipes that you find, I quite frankly find under $80, I think what those suffer from more than anything else really are just that the grain isn't that pleasing. You might have a few imperfections here or there, or that the stain is just kind of a, it's not a contrast stain at all. It's just kind of a, you know, like a ruby red stain, or a very dark smoky stain that doesn't accent the grain all that much. So your finish tends to be higher end, certainly on the smooth pipes. On your rusticated pipes, I find they tend to be very plain on the under $80 pipes, the rustication, or just, to me, not pleasing to the eye, like some of the rustication you might find on a Dr. Grabo. I know some people really love that, or what I would call wire rustication. I think there are several places or several companies that do wire rustication on lower end pipes. I don't prefer that. I don't find that to be a very pleasing look to my pipe. If you do, that's fine, and that's wonderful, and it's great. But smooth pipes tend to be better on the higher end pipes. You probably have a little bit more pleasing rustication pattern there. You also will find more sandblasted pipes in that $80 and above range. And so very literally the fit and finish are just better on the little bit higher end pipes. And then lastly, talk about just kind of some of the detail work and the engineering work. And where I find it most of all to be the case on your higher end pipes is the attention that is paid to where the tenon and mortise meet and the end of the tenon itself. Quite frankly, on lower end pipes, normally what I see is number one, it's a vulcanite stem, which is a fine material, but it also requires a little bit more work. But by and large, it's, you know, on these lower end pipes, it's a kind of cheaper vulcanite stem, and they've just drilled through it and then have just kind of cut it to the length, or it already had the length and they just drilled through it, and you're just kind of left with the hole that hasn't been sanded down, or just kind of some of the work hasn't been done there. Maybe that is even off a little bit off center in the tenon itself, you know, or the tenon doesn't line up exactly with the draft hole that's in the mortise itself. Some of those things that you start to notice in the kind of the lower end pipes, and while that becomes a big deal is that as the smoke travels through those, anytime you have a disruption in the way the smoke is going to travel through the pipe and cause just a disruption or turbulent airflow through there, you have more of an opportunity for moisture to come out of the smoke and to cause gurgle in the pipe, and again then wind up with hot tobacco juice in your mouth, which is not a pleasant experience. And so those little engineering things, making sure that it's drilled very close to being straight from mouthpiece all the way through the end of the bowl, especially if you're talking about a straight pipe, to making sure that those holes lined up, or that the tenon itself, that the hole as they've drilled through is very smooth, all of those that you should find really at $80 and above. I'd say maybe even if you wanted to get more technical, if you really wanted to be certain that your tenon work was done, $100 to $125 is kind of that common mark. And so where I would push you, there certainly, to kind of answer your question, or to answer the question, you will find wonderful smokers, and I'm sure I'm going to get lots of comments about the $5 smoker you found off of eBay, or the $5 pipe you found off of eBay. You will find wonderful pipes in that lower price range. But we're talking about buying your first pipe, Briar pipe, and wanting to make sure and increase your odds of finding something that is eminently smokable. And as you progress in pipe smoking, you'll find that even these things that have little problems, you'll figure out ways to make them wonderful smokers, because you can change your smoking habits and be more versatile with different ones. But what you'll find is that really your higher probability of success is with a pipe that's in the $80 to $125 range. Anything that you're paying over, in my opinion, really over $100 for, in that $100 to $125 range. Anything over that is about aesthetics completely. But your $100 to $125 range gets you fit, finish, well-aged Briar, and should have a well-engineered pipe. Okay, there are exceptions to that. That you'll find pipes that aren't that great in that range, but your odds are a little bit lower. And then really, like I said, anything that's above $125, it's about aesthetics. You're going to want to make sure that the grain is really pleasing, or maybe it's got a deep, craggy sandblast and some metal work on it, or it's a well-known carver and they don't make many pipes. You know, that's kind of how that works. So anyway, to me, if I were you, my first pipe would be in that $80 to $125 range, and I think you'll find something that would be a good fit for you. So we've talked through how much you ought to spend. $80 to $125 will get you right, in my opinion. Next time we'll talk more about brands that I think you should try that will give you a high opportunity to snag a quality Briar for your first Briar pipe. It's been Earl. Talk to you later.